All right, happy Friday. Good Friday. Happy Good Friday. Welcome to Co-Video Confessionals number 14. This one I would title A Whole Lot of Money Lost Overnight, which hurts a little bit. We've been working on this deal for 3-4 months at this point. Had everything in line to close. We needed to raise $3 million to close on this deal. And how we usually raise our money is we raise it from individuals. Well, this deal, the entirety of the equity raise, it was $3 million, was brought in from one group, I guess, from Houston. Monday morning, we wake up, gonna close on Friday. It's Monday morning and happy. Things are great. I'm pumped. We're about to close on the deal. Everything's in line to close on the deal. And then I get a phone call from our attorney. He's just found that the company, the group that we're working with, has tried to sneak text into the operating agreement, which would essentially mean, aside from a small little fee up front, we wouldn't make any money on that deal for like 3 years. Sneaky text. Now, how this typically works, by the way, it's called redlining, right? So I would, if we're negotiating a contract, I would send you a contract. You want to make changes, you would put red text in there to show me what changes you want to make. We go back and forth. Dude, this process with them was, a lot of work. I mean, it was hours of negotiations, multiple site visits, a lot of work. And now all of a sudden we realize that they're trying to sneak text into the operating agreement, hoping that we wouldn't catch it. And in our reality, I really feel like they felt like we didn't have another option, like that they could do that because they could control the situation. I really sincerely felt like that. When I hear this, I'm about to lose it. Our choices were this. We could either stay in the deal with them, close, we'd get our earnest money refunded back. That's 6 figures in earnest money, great, but we wouldn't make a dime for 3 years. We'd lose out for 3 years and we'd be stuck in a deal with crappy partners for 7 years, long time. Our other option is we could cut ties with them, pay for an extension, which is putting more earnest money at risk, and try to raise the remainder, try to raise $3 million in 30 days. Which is, dude, that's not easy. I don't care how long you've been raising funds. If you go to your equity partners, your investors, and you say, hey, sorry, no, there's no more room on this deal, it's fully funded, and then circle back and be like, oh, psych, we actually have the entirety of the amount available again, and we close in a few days. Are you in? There's skepticism. We know that. We know that we risk, if we do that, we know that we could risk losing the deal and 6 figures in earnest money, which is a pretty decent sized risk to take. And I'll tell you this, like on that Monday, that situation was daunting to me. Sincerely, like fear and uncertainty were extremely prevalent. The kicker is I had just fasted and prayed about that situation, about that deal. And I promise you right now, that was not the result that I had prayed and fasted for, which I couldn't help but just look up and be like, what in the world? What's happening? I about lost it. When I realized our options, in fact, I did lose it. There may have been some profanities, maybe. I don't know. There may have been a chair thrown. I don't know. It's pretty interesting, actually, as I compare it to today, because we're facing a global pandemic that seems daunting, that fear and uncertainty are all over the news, all over social media. And here I am right now fasting about the situation. Am I crazy? I also realized today that there's probably a lot of people that are struggling to see where the blessing is, right? How this could ever be a blessing, just like I was struggling a year ago. Hopefully you're not to the point of chucking your chairs, though. Keep it under control, for hell's sakes. But let's rewind till last year, and I'll tell you what I learned from this, okay? When I was losing it, when I was complaining, when I was chucking chairs, my partner, Ryan, I'll never forget this, quickly stopped that process. And he said, we can either play the victim by complaining about things that are outside of our control, or we can just frickin' take control and solve the problem. I thought about that today too, actually, as a lot of people that I know are fasting and praying and trying to take control of the current situation. And what they're fasting and praying about, myself included, is that the pandemic, be controlled, and that the caregivers are taken care of and protected, and that the economy is strengthened, and that life will return back to normal. But what I learned last year, man, I learned that prayer is a precursor to action. Like, we can't just sit back and pray. Last year, here's what we did. We decided to take control, pay for an extension, kick them out of the deal. I would rather not do the deal than to be in a bad relationship, bad business relationship for 7 years. Not an option for me or other partners. So we paid for an extension and we focused our efforts inward. Our other partners were Lisa and Greg, and Lisa, Greg, Ryan get all the credit in making this happen and in making sure that we were successful on this because of the situation, not making sure that the situation didn't turn it the other way, right? We were going to be successful because of the situation. Focused our efforts inward on what we could control and completed the raise. I think it's one of the hardest things that I've done. Like, it took a lot of discipline, and I realized that self-discipline is the most important when things are hard. Like, when things are easy, it was easy. But self-discipline when things are hard, that's when it's most important, right? A year ago, looking at that on that Monday, like, it was the farthest thing from a blessing. I could not see how this was an answer to prayers, right? What's crazy is today, like, it was absolutely a blessing. It was the best thing that could happen on that deal. Not even a question. And I'm super grateful for that, for the lessons we learned and how we were able to structure and the equity partners that we were able to bring in. And here's what I learned. What looks comfortable sometimes in the short term doesn't mean that that's what's good for us in the long term, right? Sometimes God gives us a trial to assist in a course correct. We get so comfortable in the course that we're going on that sometimes it takes a trial to force a course correct. And dude, that's a huge blessing. I also learned that every situation, no matter how hard, can be a blessing, but it's not a blessing because of some outside circumstance that makes it a blessing. It's a blessing because you, I, us, right, decide to make it a blessing. And we do that by focusing on the things that we can control and taking action. It was super liberating to realize that you can take control of a situation, to know that in any given situation, you have the power to take control. And in any given situation, to know that you're only going to be a victim if you decide to be a victim, right? That was liberating to me. It really was. So listen, whether you're dealing with a bunch of asshats from Houston or whether you're dealing with a global pandemic, you're always in control. There's always a solution. I think it's important for us to remember that as we fast and we pray and we are trying to, make sure that the problems of today of this pandemic are solved, right? There are individual economic situations and the countries and the world's economic situations are better. I think it's important to understand and remember that, once again, that prayer is a precursor to action, and the actions that we take in our own lives to cure those things, multiplied by millions of other people around the world who are fasting and praying and taking action on the same things, that is what will assure the course correction, right? What we decide to do today will decide the stories that we get to tell tomorrow. I can't wait to hear about every damn one of your stories and how well it went. Let's focus on what we can do today.